Dear human, dear soul, I welcome you to my podcast series, Conversations with the Universe. Since a near-death experience, I have the gift to communicate with subtle levels of the cosmos. The knowledge from these for us invisible forms of energy I capture in my books, and it is now a great pleasure for me to share this knowledge, these conversations, with you as a supplement to the books. Please excuse me if the terms and articulations are not perfect. Our mother tongue is German, but we try to translate it to the best of our abilities. Thank you. I ask for permission, protection and connection in order to speak with friend of the Indians again. Dearest friend and teacher, we intend to write the new book entitled Initiation into the Subtle Worlds. Please begin. First, I'm very happy that we are beginning another work into the world, that we are bringing it another work into the world.
So am I, dear. My work in the subtle planes, if we can call it that, consists to a very large extent of collecting exactly this information that you are asking for now.
I don't know how to start actually, so I'm asking you for some kind of guidance, please.
If you would like to start right away with the worlds, we can do that. But I think people would first want more of an impulse on what your motivation is to do this.
Okay, well then, I fortunately didn't grow up with any form of religion. But whenever I come into contact with religions, I see that they utilize various hierarchies of the cosmos, particularly hierarchies that are supposed to scare people. They talk about purgatory, about hell, the last judgment, and many other fear-inducing things. And when I hear this, I know right away that something is fundamentally wrong, because fear, you have taught me, is something that the souls do not know, which therefore certainly the cosmos does not know either. So I'm very curious to see to what extent we can do educational work and take away this fear and these wrong impressions that people have.
Wise words, dear. But you also know that many approaches in the religions do point to causes in the subtle world. What I mean to say is that the structures actually exist, but turning them into oppressive, frightening hierarchies is something man-made.
But why are people like this?
Because they don't know expansiveness, dear.
What do you mean by that? I mean, do you mean expansiveness of the soul?
Yes.
But why don't they know this expansiveness? I mean, the soul comes into the body, and the soul is something expansive, a very vast energy field, and it goes into the body. Then it should really do whatever it can to feel this expansiveness again. Why is the energy not strong enough to desire this expansiveness?
Because energy generally forms matter. But this energy is different in everyone, as you know.
Yes, but nevertheless, everyone, even if they have only little energy, should still have this longing and orient themselves and set their steps accordingly instead of binding themselves to religions that take away the expansiveness.
If you include the chapter Connection and Powerlessness here, you can remind people about what I've already said about it.
Yes, but I still don't get it. So you mean it's actually a power potential issue as to why there are religions in the first place?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. You mean the more we can give people power, the less they would feel the need to follow a stupid religion of oppression.
Oh, yes.
I find it unbelievable that this can happen at all in the cosmos. That so many souls have so little power that they have have to take then this path.
Don't judge. Don't judge it, dear. It is the way it is. And sometimes these crutches, as I like to call religions in the most positive sense, are also good for people. They provide support where people don't find stability on their own.
Yes, on principle this is understandable and right, but the downsides are just so terrible.
I know.
I think we are digressing. I don't want to write this book about the subject of religions. I would like to tell you I would like to tell you to tell me briefly about the research you are doing, and you have done in order to study the subtle worlds. How exactly do you do that?
If you imagine the cosmos as a kind of space which is endless, but nevertheless differently frequented, differently structured, it is almost like for you on Earth when you visit different landscapes.
Oh, really?
Really?
But when you visit the different landscapes, how do you travel there?
I use my spirit power, or better said, my soul power, and decide to visit different frequency ranges. Then I stay there for some time to learn the way the different entities perceive.
I find that really fascinating, and my question is, how do you learn that? Because, look, on the one hand, we have learned that perception is very strongly tied to the power potential in a soul. If you are weak, you often don't perceive other beings. You don't perceive the light so well. You don't perceive the warmth so well. But if you are powerful, you perceive a lot of all of this that is all there, all the time. You just haven't perceived it. So how do you do it? That you stay in your perception and additionally study the perception of other levels. How do you do that? Do you change your perception, your energy level, or do you stay in your perception? How does it work?
I naturally remain in my perception, but I try to study what can be found in the respective areas. Of course, I often perceive more than the entities themselves in these areas.
You mean to say that they might not even notice you?
Yes.
Wow, that makes sense and is fascinating. And when you travel, does it cost you energy?
Yes.
Where do you get this energy from? How do you recharge?
I live in connectedness with the source, and through it I can again and again draw strength from this connectedness so that I can travel. This is the key to the world of subtlety. Only those who have enough energy can travel and experience it as a multifaceted world. But those who travel it without, or rather with little energy, will not be able to recognize this diversity. Therefore, the essence of this possibility of traveling is the connectedness, and especially the purity of my soul.
I see. Congratulations on being able to do that. On being able to do this and having this energy potential at your disposal. Wow. This is your reward, so to speak, for having made such an effort to purify and strengthen yourself through all your lives.
Yes, thank you.
Do you enjoy it? I would imagine so.
Yes, I do.
What have you enjoyed the most?
Several things. First, the possibility alone is incredibly enriching. When you experience this diversity vividly, the cosmos is far more exciting than life itself. And above all, it is softer, more loving, more powerful, and more joyful.
Yes, I know. So you only travel worlds where everyone is friendly and loving, unlike when human beings travel. Well, it's true.
Sylvia, please, stay compassionate.
Yes. When you travel, are you really, really always alone? I mean, don't you have friends with you?
If you ask me like that, I can tell you that the brothers of the wise brotherhood, and even other beings who come from completely different realms, are often with me. They follow me because they too are curious to discover what the cosmos has in store.
Should I picture you as some kind of a group or a school? Can you explain, please?
More like a kind of group. We are not as many as in a school, but sometimes almost as many as in a class, Sylvia.
Okay. And do you communicate with each other when you are in these worlds?
Well, guess. No, of course.
But when you go into other frequency range to explore it, isn't it the case that you, maybe in order not to disturb anything or anybody, have you to be very quiet? I mean, I don't know.
No. You must not think of it as zones where things are forbidden.
Well,
You need to show respect, yes. But if we want to communicate, we simply communicate. And, by the way, this too is a very important kind of research, because to see where communication works and where it doesn't work is often also an indication of the respective frequency range.
wow, yes, that makes sense. And then, when you go into those other frequency ranges, does everyone go their own way within that frequency range, or do you always move within that frequency range as a group?
We explore all together, but individually, and then we share.
Oh, that's certainly thrilling. So, in a matter of speaking, you are also a kind of teacher, like a guide for this group, right?
Yes.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Mm.
You're in your element there, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. It's really very, very nice to know that you can continue to teach there in this way and grow within your element. That your teaching, your knowledge has not been stopped with you being human, but that you can actually live that in the subtle worlds as well. Particularly since I keep hearing that growth is harder to accomplish on the other side.
Yes.
Surely this is also a credit to your work and is related to the energy potential of you, right?
Yes, very much. That is why it is so important to me to convey the people how crucial it is to keep and gather their energy and to purify at the same time. Soul energy grows, but to do so, it needs attention, love, and purification. Only then can this energy grow, and when it does, it's beautiful.
Oh yes, dearest friend and teacher. When you have completed such a journey, do you return to your level?
Yes, I do.
And that is the level of the wise brotherhood, right? Third, fourth?
Fourth, Sylvia.
Okay. And when you are in your level, then you recharge your energy by doing nothing? Or how exactly does that work? How do you connect to the source then?
I'm always connected to the source through my awareness, my dear. But in my level, I connect in silence and concentration.
When I'm researching,
when I'm traveling, my attention and therefore my concentration is somewhere else, and that takes energy. But when I'm in my level, I can concentrate completely in connecting with the source. And in doing so, I am given energy.
I see. So by simply being in your world, in your place, you can recharge completely.
Yes.
How do you notice that you've lost energy?
I feel various things differently. My perception changes in the colorfulness that surrounds me. It becomes grayer, duller, like a veil, and I no longer hear as well.
That's interesting. And what about feeling?
Sylvia, if you ask about feeling, you must briefly help explain this to people. It is not feelings as you know them in the body, but it is the connectedness with everything that I feel. And this connectedness remains. It doesn't become less, because my energy potential is basically large enough to always feel this big energetics.
Yes, I assumed as much. Because if you didn't, you would generally be in another level. You would have to be. I'm trying to picture it. So when you travel to other levels, do you slowly notice the colorfulness transforming and hearing differently when you communicate?
Yes.
And then there is an impulse and you say, that's enough, now I'm going back.
Yes.
Have you been able to find out if all the others feel the same way?
Oh, yes.
So they feel the same way, I see. And does it then also get a bit more difficult to move?
Yes. Very good that you bring that up. Mobility decreases due to loss of energy. You become slower. At least it feels that way.
Wow, but that doesn't scare you, doesn't it?
No, not at all.
You know, I don't quite understand why it takes energy at all. I thought once you are in your center, in your energy potential, which you have achieved, why does it take energy to travel to these other worlds? Why?
Because overcoming the different frequency ranges and concentrating as well directing your attentions simply costs energy. That is the logical and nevertheless cosmic law. Movement, concentration, attention, communication, all these things cost energy. The cosmos is energy that transforms. And our energies, that is, my group's energy and, of course, my own energy, transform as we do this.
So you're telling us in the cosmos nothing happens without an energy transformation. Every step you take, every impulse you set, every moment is because of the energy and energetics in you and around you, and is also a step that transforms those energies in you and around you, right?
Right. Very beautiful said, Sylvia.
Well,
accepted.
It is. It is the same actually like in life. When we move, we have to expand energy, just as the whole of existence costs energy. So it makes sense that it's the same on the other side. You are right when you say that the cosmos is energy.
Yes, it is.
Your thirst of knowledge in the course of your being, will it ever be quenched?
I beg your pardon? No.
Really?
No.
Why not?
Because the nature of this research is so invigorating, so exhilarating, so gratifying, that I never want to give it up. It entertains me, it teaches me, and it makes me grow. And what could be better than growing in joy?
Wow, yes, that's nice. It's nice to hear that. But isn't it fair to say that at some points you might know everything?
No.
No?
No.
Why not?
Because the cosmos is not a school where teachings are completed in a certain grade. The cosmos is an ever-living vessel that continues to unfold and grow. So, I'm allowed to grow with it.
Wow, okay, yes, I understand that, and that's very nice. Interesting. So you have a kind of everlasting school or never-ending platform of adventures. Wow.
That's it.
But when you travel worlds, travel to other frequency range, there are bound to be things that you like doing very much and some that you like doing less, right?
Right.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Traveling and exploring the respective areas is very, very exciting for me. I dive into the individual areas and travel through their worlds to get to know the details that each individual frequency range holds. These are not only materialized forms, these are often techniques, laws, as well as things that are not immediately obvious.
So that means when you dive into such a level, you sometimes have to enter into communication with these other entities or with the other energies there in order to really study the laws.
That's exactly right.
Wow, there are definitely levels that you quite like to travel, aren't there?
Yes.
Well, we get to that later. And what is it you don't like doing so much on these trips, if to name so?
If you can put it that way, I don't like leaving a level which could still need my help and attention, because there are entities which are stuck in the experience of deprivation. I can help them, and of course I want to, but I don't always have enough energy to do so permanently. And then I have to leave again.
Oh, yes, I understand. Dearest friend and teacher, because I'm also a physicist, and I like physics very much. I like using the term frequency range, and you yourself have suggested this term to me many times. So are we talking about worlds, about ranges, or are we talking about frequency ranges? What would you like me to call these different qualities? How would you like me to ask these questions?
If you take up my words, please, and always use them, then everything will fall into place as a whole. You can either use frequency range or just range. World would be too much for me, because while these respective areas are difficult to describe in terms of size, they are not as big as a whole world. Therefore, I would rather ask that we use the word range, or, if you like, frequency ranges.
Yes, but in detail, do you want frequency range or range?
I prefer range.
Okay, well, I try. We once had a very nice chapter describing the frequency topic. Do you want to get a little bit deeper into that?
No.
Okay, well then let me just briefly state that the cosmos is made up of different frequencies on a scale from 0 to infinity. And that the point is to understand those respective frequencies. The big challenge here is that each form brings with it certain tools that make a certain frequency range more accessible, and others just don't. And that's the homework, to train your perception in such a way that you can experience as many frequency ranges as possible. And since I like to structure everything in accordance with physics, I have always talked about frequency ranges. But let us note, friend of the Indians wants us to simply call them ranges. Then we will try to do that nicely.
Yes, please. Keep it simple, Sylvia, to make it easy for people to access.
Yes, I know. I would still be interested to know whether, when you travel in those other
worlds,
frequency levels, you are occasionally perplexed or even speechless.
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Why not?
Well, because I thought that's like, okay, I'm going to the green garden, then I'm going to the blue garden, and then I'm going to the yellow garden. I didn't think there would be things that would surprise you.
I'm sorry to say that, but that doesn't make any sense, Sylvia. If I knew everything already, I wouldn't need to do any more research, dear, isn't it? It's precisely these surprises, the sometimes very confusing information, that is the essence of research.
Okay, I see. And when you are speechless, do you sometimes go to the friends to discuss this?
No. I discuss them with the beings that accompany me, if any do accompany me.
And when you are alone?
Then I just continue my research on my own.
Okay. Have there ever been levels that made you sad?
Yes. Very many, in fact.
Really? Many?
Yes.
I didn't accept that. If something makes you sad, then it must be related to suffering, right?
No, not necessarily. Suffering does not really exist here on these levels. It is the limitation that the particular soul has created within itself that I observe. And that makes the experience of learning difficult for that soul. It is as if they are stuck, and it sometimes makes me sad that this is the case.
Yes, but at the end of the day, you taught me that this is because they have just set the steps in their previous lives in such a way that they have lost their energy, and so they are in this perception accordingly.
Yes, exactly. And it's exactly that makes me sad.
Would you want to change that? This is what the cosmos likes, so that it doesn't happen anymore.
No. The law behind it is very reasonable. If you can use that word, it is right. It is healthy. Everybody, every human being, every soul gets the same opportunities as the others, as everybody else. This kind of justice is very important, and it goes hand in hand with personal responsibility. And those who recognize this are in turn equipped with all the tools that come with it. Those who don't recognize it and maneuver themselves into powerlessness fall into these states of energetics. And this is, yes, I know, one most simply call it as it is, always just the result of the steps you take. I don't want to change this way of being, this law, at all. It is just sometimes not so nice to see how these beings, souls, dwell for a while in states which they have created themselves, but with a little energy could turn much more joyful. I mean, with a little energy they could turn much more joyful. But I must not and cannot give them this energy, because they must take these steps by virtue of their free will.
Yes. At the end of the day, it's like on Earth. There are places where you find a lot of poor people and others where you find the rich, and so on and so forth. Is this a good comparison?
Somehow.
Well, yes, please don't get me wrong, because I'm filled with humility and respect, and I'm not saying that it is people's own fault to be poor.
That is absolutely right, dear. In the human world, there are other impulses causing poverty, hunger, and deformities than in the subtle plane. For you all, it is the environment, family, economy, climate, and so much more that can create such conditions. Here, however, it is exclusively the components of the soul, above all energetic components. And that is why I will point out again and again, and never will stop, that no matter in which state you were born and grew in life, you please always continue to feed and enrich the energy of your soul. This has nothing to do with the external circumstances of your being, and is completely independent of them, but helps you reach the state in which moving outside of your body will be joyful, loving, and powerful, but above all, full of light.
Right. And this takes us to an area, my dearest friend, that the church too claims for itself. In the sermons, they often talk about the quality of life after death, as in, if you behave, you go to paradise. If you don't behave, you go to hell. Now, this is totally in line with what you have just said, namely that people prepare for it with their deeds in lifetime.
Yes. Although I do not like these comparisons, as you know.
Yes.
You take images which were created by people and which are represented in a distorted manner. And above all, they are images with which guilt and fear are spread. That's what you said. The whole subject of guilt and fear is purely man-made anyway, and not my intention. I would simply like to point out that you carry the personal responsibility in every moment of your being. That's a different subject. That you conserve your energies and, in the best case, even increase them. If you do not do this, and do not perceive, develop, promote your energy as such, then that's okay. There is no judgment. Every person can deal with this the way they want to. I'm merely pointing out what this means. But I'm not doing it with a wagging finger. My intention is not to admonish nor to frighten. It is like a paint box that I'm showing you. Would you rather have a paint box with many colors, or just one with fewer colors? Again, there is no judgment. You can create a beautiful painting with just few colors. Facilitate people's awareness that they are the creators of their destiny and the creators of all their steps.
Yes.
No one else.
Yes, dear friend of the year, Indians. My concentration is slowly falling, fading. I need to be careful. Is there something you would like to add in regards to these questions here?
I'm the friend of the Indians, and I'm also friend of the deer. No, dearest Sylvia, you have already asked very nice and deeply, deeply beautiful questions.
Thank you. And looking forward to start with you now this next chapter of reading this big, 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 big book and making it a nice and very long podcast season. Thank you. Love.
We will do this together, Sylvia, and therefore, thank you. Love.